Hello everyone, and welcome to this flipped classroom on converting measures. In particular, we're going to focus on metric units, but there will be a bit of a mention of imperial units towards the end of the lesson. Okay, right, so let's start with kilo, because we have kilometers and kilograms. What does the word kilo mean? Okay, so if it's prefixed with kilo, K-I-L-O, what does it actually mean? Literal translation, 1,000. Okay, now we can use that to help fill in these sentences. 1 kilometer or kilometer is the same as how many meters. Okay, use the information, use what we know about the prefix. It's 1,000. And in the same way, 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. So we can use that information to help us convert between the two. If we know that 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters and we know that 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams, then we can use that information to convert between them. Okay, so here's the fact that we know 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. So if we want to turn any number of kilometers into meters, all we need to do is multiply by 1,000. So if I had 5 kilometers, then that will multiply by 1,000 will be 5,000 meters. 10 kilometers, 10,000 meters, and so on. What about going the other way, converting from meters to kilometers? It's just the opposite. We divide by 1,000. So if I had 5,000 meters, I would divide by 1,000 to give me 5 kilometers. Okay? And that works just the same way for kilograms and grams, because kilo in kilograms means 1,000. So we can use exactly the same maths to convert between the two. So can we apply it to kilograms and grams? Yes, we can. And how do we convert between the two? In just the same way as we would between kilometers and meters. So kilograms to grams, multiply the number by 1,000, grams to kilograms, divide by 1,000. Right, what about converting between kilograms and grams is an example. And there's a reminder of the maths we're going to be using. Now, we're going to use a place value grid just to remind ourselves and help us to multiply by 1,000. If, however, you're unsure as to how to multiply by 1,000, divide by 1,000, or multiply, divide by 100 or 10, please go back to the flipped classroom on place value. It's really important that you can do these sorts of operations. Now we've got 5.3 kilograms, which we're going to place in our place value grid. There's 5 ones or units and 3 tenths. And to convert from kilograms to grams, we are going to multiply by 1,000. Now, hopefully you know how to multiply by 1,000. All the digits move 3 places to the left. They get 3 places bigger. So the 5 is going to go 1, 2, 3, and end up in the thousands column. The 3 from the tenths column is going to go 1, 2, 3 into the hundredths column. And then we're going to use zeros as placeholders to give us the number 5,300. So 5.3 kilograms is 5,300 grams. Okay, let's try a different one. This time we've got 9,130 grams, and we want those in kilograms. So let's put the 9,130 into our place value grid. Converting grams to kilograms, we are going to divide by 1,000. Now, if we're dividing, all the digits move 3 places to the right. So the 9 is going to move 1, 2, 3, and end up in the units or the ones column. The 1 is going to go 1, 2, 3 into the tenths column. The 3 will go 1, 2, 3 into the hundredths column. And the 0 will actually go into the thousandths column, but it doesn't affect the number. So we can leave it off. 9.13 kilograms is the same as 9,130 grams. Right, on this page, we're looking at kilometers and meters, but we've presented them slightly differently. We're on a number line this time. All the values on the top are in kilometers. All the values on the bottom are in meters. Can you fill in the missing numbers? So all these question marks need to be replaced with values. I'm going to pause the video for a moment and give you a chance, or you're going to pause the video, I should say. So you can pause the video for a moment and see if you can work out these missing values. I'm going to reveal the answers in 3, 2, 1. 500 meters is the same as 0.5 kilometers. Divide by 1,000. So the 5 goes 1, 2, 3 places into the tens column. So 0.5. 2,000 meters, we're going to divide by 1,000 to give us 2 kilometers. 2.5 times 1,000 gives us 2,500 meters. 3.2 times 1,000 gives us 3,200 meters. And then 4,000 meters divide by 1,000 to give us 4 kilometers. Okay, hopefully all that makes sense. Little challenge for you now. On that number line, where would half a kilometer go? Where would 1/10 of a kilometer go? And where would 3 4/5 of a kilometer go? Again, pause the video, have a think for yourself. I'll reveal the answers in 3, 2, 1. Well, the 0.5 and half are exactly the same. So that first one's a little bit straightforward. So we know from our work on fractions and decimals that half and 0.5 are the same. So that one is just there. What about this next one? 1/10 of a kilometer. Well, there's 0 and there's 1. So imagine splitting that whole line into 10 equal parts, each one being 1/10. Well, 1/10 is going to be somewhere down there. There you go, 1/10 of a kilometer. And what about this final one? 3 4/5? Well, let's make it easier for ourselves. Let's turn the 4/5 into tenths, because we understand tenths on a number line. So we've got 4/5. If we multiply top and bottom, numerator and denominator, by 2, then we're going to get 3 8/10. So where would 3 8/10 go? Well, there's 3 and there's 4. So the 8/10 is somewhere in between here. So there's 1/10 because there's 2/10. There's 3.2. So 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, 3.5 is halfway. 3.6, 3.7, 3.8, or 3 8/10. So it's going to be somewhere about there. There you go. 3 4/5 or 3 8/10 falls there on the number line. Now, these are a couple of facts that we just need to know. We can use our language skills to help us, but really we just need to know them. How many centimeters, or how many millimeters, I should say, are the same as 1 centimeter? Think about your school ruler. Think about 1 centimeter on there and all those little marks in between. They're the millimeters, but how many of them fit in that little centimeter space? It's not 1,000, is it? There's no way you could fit all of those little marks in there. It's just 10. 10 millimeters are needed to fill up 1 centimeter. How many centimeters are needed for 1 meter? Well, think about the large meter stick in the classroom. How many centimeters do you think fit in there? And again, 1,000? No, we won't fit that many in. We will fit 100 though. And then 1 kilometer, think about the language, kilo, meaning 1,000. So 1,000 meters. These are numbers that we just need to become familiar with. We've done a lot of work so far in the lesson on 1,000, but don't fall into the trap of thinking that they're all 1,000. They're not. So let's look at the conversion table for these. If I want to turn millimeters into centimeters, or centimeters into meters, or meters into kilometers, what am I going to do? I'll pause briefly, or you can pause briefly and fill in the blanks. What do you think should be in each of those dotted boxes? I'll show you the answer in 3, 2, 1. Well, millimeters to centimeters, we're going to divide by 10. Centimeters to meters, divide by 100. Meters to kilometers, divide by 1,000. So if I had 30 millimeters, divide by 10 is the same as 3 centimeters. If I had 400 centimeters, divide by 100 is the same as 4 meters. And if I had 7,000 meters, divide by 1,000, 7 kilometers. Okay. What about going the other way? Kilometers to meters, meters to centimeters, and centimeters to millimeters. Well, it's just the opposite. We're going to times by 100, times by 1,000, times by 1,000, times by 100, times by 10. So if we had 2 kilometers times by 1,000 is 2,000 meters. If I had 3 meters times by 100, it's 300 centimeters. And if I had 4 centimeters times by 10, it's the same as 40 millimeters. Now, in milliliters, or millimeters for that matter, what do you think the milli means? Well, milli is a prefix which means 1,000th. So you need 1,000 of these little fellas to make one of these big ones. So 1 liter is the same as how many milliliters? It's 1,000. In the same way, 1 meter is the same as 1,000 millimeters. So there's the conversion table for that. If I've got milliliters and I want to turn them into liters, I just divide the number by 1,000. Liters multiplied by 1,000. There's 3. There's 3 more. And there's a challenge for you. 7 questions there. Pause the video, have a go at those 7. I will show you the answers in 3, 2, 1. There you go. Okay, so 2,000 milliliters divide by 1,000 gives you 2 liters. 400 milliliters divide by 1,000, 0.4 liters. 32,401 milliliters is 32.401 liters. Going the other way, 2 liters multiplied by 1,000, 2,000 milliliters. 2.3 liters is 2,300 milliliters. 0.52 liters is 520 milliliters. And then the challenge was 3/4 of a liter. As a decimal, 3/4 we know is 0.75. Multiply that by 1,000, and you get 750 milliliters. Well done if you got those right. Now, just for these last couple of slides, I thought I would talk briefly about imperial units. Now, some people say that these are old units. We don't tend to use them as much anymore, but they're still out there. It's important that we're sort of familiar with them and understand roughly how big they are. So we've got inches, pounds, pints, and yards. Now, there are lots more. There are a lot more. These are some of the more familiar ones, and these are the ones you might come across. So I thought it was important that we had a look at roughly how big they are and what they're used to measure. So 1 inch. An inch is a unit of measure of length, and it's about. So this wavy equal sign means approximately. So 1 inch is approximately 2.5 centimeters. And that means that 1 centimeter is approximately 0.4 inches. Now, pounds, they're a unit of mass. Okay, so we'll say 1 kilogram is about 2.2 pounds, meaning that 1 pound is about 0.45 kilograms. Pints, now pints are a unit of capacity, so we measure liquid in pints. 1 litre is about 1.75 pints, so 1 pint is about 0.57 litres. And finally, a yard. A yard's another unit of length, and it's about 0.91 metres, or 1 metre is about 1.09 yards. Okay. So if we're converting between imperial and metric, it's always a little bit tricky, and it is always approximate. Okay, it's very, very difficult to be precise with these because they are different units. So we need one of these conversion tables if we're going to be able to do it. So if you're ever faced with this type of question in a test, you will be given this sort of information. And it's how do I use it? So if I'm asked the question, what is 3 pints in litres, then I'm going to go to my conversion table and find out what 1 pint is. Well, 1 pint is about 0.57 litres. Now, if I want 3 pints, let me think about the maths here. Let me think about the number sentence. Well, it's going to be 3 lots of 0.57. Because 1 pint is 0.57, 3 pints is 3 lots of 0.57. And if you can do the maths in your head, you'll have realized that 3 pints is 1.71 litres. That should actually be an approximate because it's not exactly 1.71, but close enough. What about this one? 4 inches in centimeters. Again, think about the number sentence. I know what 1 inch is. 1 inch is about 2.5 centimeters. So I would need 4 lots of 2.5 centimeters. 4 lots of 2.5 is 10 centimeters. And again, that really should be an approximate symbol rather than equals, because although it's close, it's not exactly 10 centimeters. But there you go. Using these conversion tables allows you to convert between metric and imperial. But that's the end of the session. I hope you've become more familiar with the metric units and maybe a little bit more curious about some of the imperial units out there. But anyway, that's the end of the session. Take care. We will see you next time.